I'm going to introduce our speakers, and I'm going to start with Sanna Salmenkallio. Sanna is a Finnish composer whose work spans film scoring, theater composing, sound design, and social activism through community art. Sanna has both classical music education from Sibelius Academy and an education as sound designer from Theater Academy. And she also has a passion for Arabic music, which she has studied in Cairo. And as a violinist, she specializes in improvisation. Welcome, Sanna. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have Merzi Rajala. Merzi is a rhythmic choir conductor, composer, and pedagogue, specialized in popular and global music and collective improvisation. Merzi works as a lecturer in the global music program here at Siba, and she is known as the developer of global choir leadership studies. Welcome, Merzi. And here we have Jaime Belmonte. Jaime is a Spanish-Finnish composer, conductor, singer, and artistic research, conducting his doctoral studies at the Siba. And also, in parallel to his academic research, Jaime works as an independent composer, engaging in projects across Europe, and his work is focused on transcultural dialogue and the use of space, technology, and extended techniques to create immersive, architecturally informed sound worlds. Welcome, Jaime. So, as we start with the topic of reflecting the political and focusing specifically on people and audiences and communities, I would like to start by asking all of you, first of all, who are the people that you meet through your own artistic practice? And can you share a story of some special connection that you've established with the people that you meet in your artistic practice? A special story, or maybe a moment when audience response has changed your understanding of your own work. Maybe Sanna, you could
I think
start.
I'm taking the first part first. Maybe we take 2 rounds. So I have been making community art. Now I'm making it mainly with prisoners. So I'm meeting drug dealers, junkies, prostitutes, pedophiles, all kind of people who have in prison, and people who are working in these circles, like people, social workers, all kind of things. And then I have been working also with refugees. Yes, many kind of cases, of course, around it. And then I have been working with Extinction Rebellion, so I have been working with environmental activists shortly.
Merzi, who do you meet through your art? What kind of peoples and communities?
So many different kind of people. Depends on the people from the communities. A choir is a beautiful instrument because it always invites so many diverse people from the community to participate. But also through choral work, I have been able to meet researchers, nature scientists, political scientists, law, politicians, law, people who work with law, and different parts of the society.
I was tempted to say I meet nobody, but of course it's not true. Of course, this is like the myth of the composer, like being alone in the studio, like just working, you know. But my research is questioning this myth. So what I research actually is how does my music change when I do it together with others. So for that, I engage in different kinds of projects with different people from very different artistic or disciplinary backgrounds and from different cultural backgrounds as well.
And do you want to continue if you have in your mind any moment where the audience's response to your art has really impacted on you, and how you has it somehow shaped or changed your own understanding of your work?
Actually, yeah, it comes to my mind a moment in my master's recital that was in 2019, where I was presenting three different pieces. The concert was also with pieces composed by my colleagues, and in that moment I was kind of thinking that music was kind of absolute, and somehow like it was my own way of reflecting over my own stuff, and it was just therapeutic for me, and I just presented to the people because it was just how it is. And then a member of the audience that I don't know who she is, said in the end, came to me and said, "Thank you for your music. It connects you with others." And she did like this and like this. So it was a really, really impressive thing that I also, then after that, I actually believed that it was not only my own way of dealing with things that were happening in my own life, but it was also to translate, so that people in the audience, listeners, could actually translate these emotions or experiences in their own lives.
That's beautiful. What about Merzi?
Yeah, I brought a memory with me. This changed something in me. I'm working 30 years now already for Porvoo Folk High School, kansalaisopisto, as a choir conductor, and I'm always working with non-classical music. And when this kansalaisopisto turned to 70 years, they have several choirs, and they asked that, "Merzi, can your choir represent the now?" So they gave decades to represent these different choirs. Okay, you take 1970, you take 1980s, and my choir got the now. And I think that this folk high school was waiting that I would do like some latest rap or popular music or potpourri like that. But it was 2016, and just then I was thinking, in my little town something had changed. We had a lot of people who come from like refugees and people who come from other countries into our small society and city, and there was courses for them in folk high school. So I decided that let's do a collective piece, so that I was asking that, can I get in touch with people who have just recently moved to Porvoo? And we made a vocal painting, like an improvisation work of 15 minutes, so that I asked the newcomers that, can you in your own mother tongue tell this and this and this, and we will improvise based on how your language sounds, and we will present that you are now in our society. So what actually changed me, it was a beautiful process, but what changed me was that in the audience I was assuming that they would see that, okay, it's Merzi doing her crazy stuff again, and yeah, okay, next, don't call me. But we got a standing ovation from the whole community. So I was underestimating my audience in a way that actually I was able to give them their voice of welcoming the newcomers to our society. I don't know if you can find what I'm trying to say, but this changed me. So how the audience reacted to what we did, and how the art could give a voice to them as well as to me, that changed me.
Maybe often if we think about the so-called political nature of music, we might think about concerts or music that is specifically composed or made to convey a certain message to the audience, to the people. But I think your example also showed how we, like musicians, can learn from the audience, so the audience can also educate us in a way.
Yeah, and just really feel like we are part of people as one.
Thank you. Sanna?
Oh, there are so many examples. What should I say? Maybe I'm taking this example that I'm performing quite much with people who still are in prison, and then after the performance, they are still going back to prison. And of course, for their family members, they have only got bad news the last years or even decades. So sometimes it has happened that they have managed to invite, for example, their children who haven't seen for like 10 or 20 years because of different difficult conditions. And that I have seen that after this performance they have reconnected because they have seen their parents for the first time in kind of beautiful light.
How do you all, because I'm just thinking that you all actually compose as well and you perform. So if you consider yourselves in those two roles, I don't know how much they integrate in your artistic practice or not, but if you can think about your role as a composer, you work as a composer, and then your performing practice, is there some kind of difference in how you connect with community or audience, how you think about the audience when you compose versus when you perform? Could you, is that something that resonates in you? Would you like to? You're nodding, so I'm saying.
Yeah, I can say, because I'm both composing films and then I'm also making theater with real people. And when I'm performing with people who are telling their documentary stories, it's not about my art. I feel that I have to. I'm working like, in the Greek Catholic Church, they have icons. That you are not watching, oh, how beautiful is the icon made. It is that you are seeing through the icon something bigger. So my work is to make that kind of frame so that what these people are telling about their life, that it's artistically kind of professionally built, this icon, but also that the audience can see further. It's not about my art. It is to make them shine. And then when I'm composing films, for example, I was composing a film called Havumetsän lapset, Once Upon a Time in the Forest, what is about Extinction Rebellion. And when they showed the film for test audience before music, just some clips, test audiences were really aggressive towards these activists. They found them aggressive and not sympathetic people. So my role as a composer was to compose. Their real passion was what was love to this nature. And then when I showed this kind of some subconscious emotions, what was not said, after that people loved these main characters. So it's very different. They are different roles. What happens in exact moments, or what I'm composing alone in my working room.
What do you think happened there when the music came in the picture and the audience response was so drastically different? What is your kind of analysis of what?
Well, I had long talks with the director many times, and we decided that that my task was very clear. I have to make them to show their love. So to the nature. Yes.
Do you want to?
Yes. I was thinking about the dual role that I have also as a composer and a choir conductor, mostly choir conductor, and how different it is actually. Because the choir that I conduct, that is Ruang Jaya choir in Jyväskylä, is a choir whose rule is to perform always by heart. So we don't have scores, and this is because in the performance, our aim is to establish a really profound connection with the audience face to face, so that we are really singing to the audience. Of course, I don't see the audience because I'm backwards, but anyway, like they see it through. And then when I compose, it's actually a very different thing, because there are so many things in between what I am doing and the audience that I really have to kind of pay attention to every every step of the chain. So I am like thinking, okay, first, how does this thing that I have here translate into a score? How do I put it in the score? How is the musician going to read the score? And then how is the musician going to understand it? And then how is the musician going to express it? And how is the audience going to perceive it? So actually, I am trying to think not too much about all these things because it would drive me crazy. What has been really, really beautiful is when I have been composing for my own choir, because then of course the channel is much more straight, and that's been really, really nice to be able to feel this kind of connection from the composer to the audience directly.
Well, I kind of can relate to what you said, that so when if you only compose and then give it to somebody else, you say you lose the connection and the possibility to be in the moment and react or contribute to how it is. So then you kind of want to write something bulletproof that it will work whatever happens. But if you can be there yourself as an artist, then you can take much more risks.
Jaime, you have also been recently working with the indigenous Sami community and Luohti artists as part of your doctoral work as well. And as perhaps many of us know, there is not such a beautiful history of indigenous Sami communities in Finland and how Finland has been treating the communities. But also at the same time, these kind of cross-artistic collaborations have been interesting and complex attempts to preserve the tradition, but also to find connections and integrations. Could you tell a bit more about this collaboration and how has that shaped your thinking about your artistic practice in connection to communities such as the Sami community that has been in a very marginalized position in Finland for a very long time?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I will define what was the collaboration with my partner in crime, Anna Kaleri-Lansman, or Anna-Marit as her artist name. We got a commission from a festival called Heta Music Days in northern Finland. It's a chamber music festival that basically does Western music, chamber music. But their artistic director thought that it was a very good idea to incorporate some Sami aspects into this festival. So he commissioned a piece for Joiker and chamber ensemble. So it was seven musicians, 7 instruments. So when we got this invitation, I actually didn't know anything about Joik, which was maybe even better, because I was kind of an outsider in this kind of relationship that you just mentioned about the very problematic relationship that the Finnish society has had towards the Sami people.
Can you also shortly tell about Joik? Some people here might not
Yes,
know.
of course. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
then I have to say that I am not Sami, so I am not entitled to talk about Joik, but you can, my point here is that what you will get is second-hand information. So like what I understood about it, then I pass it to you.
Yeah.
But of course it's always better to ask the practitioners. Joik is a way of singing that is deeply rooted in the Sami tradition. That it's a way of portraying something with sound. So it's not only music, but it's much more than music. It means for them actually what they say in the Sami languages. They don't say to Joik about something, but to Joik something. So I would not say to Joik about Merzi, but to Joik Merzi, because the Joik and Merzi are the same thing. And then, this was actually one of the things that got me like really, really interested in this thing. And what I did in my research was to apply something that is called the ontological term, that is a concept from anthropology, meaning that basically I try to understand as much as possible from my collaborators ontology, so the way that the yoic works, the way that the yoic is created, and try to accept it or kind of embrace it as my own. So in a way, it's like leaving aside what you believe, what are your beliefs or like ways of doing, and accepting another way of believing on another way of doing as equally good. And then basically what we did was to flip around the typical concerto for yoic and orchestra. And what we did was to put the yoic in the middle, establish the yoic ontology as the main way of making music, and then I, in a way, bended the musical language that I used to do in order to accommodate the yoic and make it live on its own terms. Of course, I could be speaking forever, but I don't want to.
I would still like to ask a follow-up question about how do you deal as an artist and composer the different kinds of sensitivities that raise when you are working with such a also in a way very strong but also vulnerable community with this very specific yoic and their other kind of cultural meaning embedded in their art. So how do you navigate those sensitivities while perhaps maintaining your own artistic voice and your own artistic integrity, of course avoid cultural appropriation at the same time. So there, it sounds interesting and very meaningful work, but also quite challenging. So did you face any challenges, or have you faced, how much of these kind of situations or thinking you have been going through in this project?
Yeah, well, maybe I will get a little bit philosophical. I have used or I have identified in this kind of relationship what a philosopher called Emmanuel Levinas calls the face-to-face encounter. So a face-to-face encounter is meeting someone face-to-face, and face doesn't mean like the just eyes and mouth and nose. It's just the person, the essence of the person. And then when one encounters face-to-face another person, then the self, that is me in this case, identifies in the other a vulnerability, and then that provokes a sense of infinite responsibility, what Levinas calls infinite responsibility. So in my case, what I identified was that I was, or I am, representative of Western tradition, and Anna is a representative of indigenous tradition, whose power is absolutely less than what comes with my position. So for me, it was this kind of sense of responsibility what led me to somehow not pay too much attention to my artistic needs and pay a lot of attention to the needs that the Ruoti or the yoic has in this case. So in practice that meant, what does the yoic need for living and for being as it is and not being constrained to this kind of, rhythmic grid or temporal dimension or, this kind of tonality thing that we use. So what I was doing was to sacrifice in a way my own language in order to respect a tradition that has not been so much respected in history. And what I got actually in return was a whole new palette of possibilities that I learned just because I was kind of forcing myself to work in a different way.
So I guess what you describe is the core of transcultural dialogue. Yeah, encountering and sensing your own responsibilities, and yeah, wonderful, thank you. I would like to turn to Sanna and
Bring it on.
improvise from the script a little bit, as I already warned you that we won't follow the script. You have mentioned already your work with prisoners. I think it's something that is quite unique still, and since Jaime also mentioned this sense of responsibility as an artist and when collaborating with vulnerable communities, could you share a bit more about the whole project? First of all, I'm sure many of us here are eager to hear about it more because it also has been one of your longest projects. And also perhaps reflect a little bit how do you articulate your responsibility as an artist, as a professional, someone in a privileged position, but at the same time seeking for collaboration and community of practice through the art.
I'm quickly telling how we are working. We are making, with my colleague, we are making workshops in prisons and some rehab places where people have criminal backgrounds. And the people who are interested in joining our theater group, they can write from prison kind of permission to visit our rehearsals, which are not in prison, they are out of prison. We are practicing at Cable Factory, indeed. What is also very important that it's in a kind of civil world. Then they start to come to our rehearsals, and then when comes the day that they get free, they can continue, so that they are taken in to a super nice and loving and caring and sober community, because that is the heavy moment when they come out from the prison. They should be able to leave their own old friends and old habits. So we are very happy to offer something else. But of course, there are people, very different people, but many of them have quite the big problems, from health problems to psychological, and if you have been like 10, 15 years out of this society, you don't even know how to take a tram or pay in a shop. So we have also social worker in our crew, who is what is very useful, because if those people who come from prison, if they would say that you have in Kela next Tuesday, go there at 3:00. Nothing happens. It's too difficult. But when they are coming to our community and we start to create trust, maybe after a year they say that could we talk about my HIV or teeth or children or something, and then it's time to say yes, let's talk about it, and then we can help them. But of course the responsibility is huge, because I have been speaking with psychologists a lot about this, that people who are traumatized, and many of them are, if you get the trust and they start to open a little bit something from their heart, they don't know themselves, they don't have any limits, then they give it all. And that's why I think it's we have to have really strong ethical thinking. We have a group of artists, we are talking a lot before rehearsals, after rehearsals, and then we are also going to psychologists like once a month, because we hear so heavy stories. But I think that it is all the documentarists, both in film and in theater, it's super, you have to be super ethical and super responsible, because they don't know themselves how their stories sound like, how they look like when they are on stage. It's on us. and we have to be very careful that because we have taken them not only to artistic projects, they are in their life projects. We have to be very sure that the things what they are showing on stage, it's good for their life. And even if it would be, as an artist, for me, it's super cool to have something super cool, it's not the case. My thing is to. But the interesting thing is that we have really kind of professional artists, and we are making kind of art with very high standards. And I mean that we have really good choreographer. I'm also professional. We have light designer. We have costume designers. We have really kind of high quality in this. And we are performing in professional places. Like we had our last performance was at National Theatre, and then we have been playing in many of these theatres and in Tanssitalo and many places we have done. And I think that that's also our responsibility to make as good art as possible, because it is also a thing what kind of lifts them up. But I think that part of this responsibility is also that I'm always thinking that I have my zone where I'm living my middle class educated person's life, and then they have their life, and we both have to be able to jump to the third zone. I also have to give up my safetyness. I have to give up all these things. We have to really meet in the third zone, because those people, they smell if you fake. That's my responsibility, to give as much as they give.
That's extremely interesting and something that I have also faced when following different kinds of projects where artists work with vulnerable communities, and this kind of balance between arts and ethics, and how much do you have to compromise artistic ambitions to kind of prevail these certain ethical boundaries, but at the same time, when does that balance, if that balance is disrupted, there might be a kind of risk of overprotectionism, so that then the participants become just like kind of target group that are given a small space to work in their art.
And what we absolutely have to avoid it is kind of pity points.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what doesn't work.
Yeah. Exactly. And then perhaps like in the other extreme, which I'm sure your project doesn't have, but would be this kind of willingness to sensationalize their stories in order to make it more kind of interesting for the audience, for example.
Yeah, we are totally, there's too much true crime in the world. You can watch it from television and everything. We are not asking their past. We are not telling their crimes. We are hearing, we are always asking from the group, what is the interesting topic? We have done our performances about love, or being without love, compassion, and then we have done about work, or how you are left outside of the working life. And now we are working on our physical memories in our bodies.
So you mentioned that you have to give up a lot when you work in this project. You have to give up your safety. You have to give up your perhaps psychological balance.
Yes, and prejudices.
Yeah.
Also my prejudices, who am I as an artist?
Right. But what has this given to you?
A beautiful community. And I have learned more than anywhere. And the kind of crazy thing, what I was one day I was thinking that because in art world people can also be very nasty and competitive, And we are talking a lot about safe zone, and there are all kind of regulations, but I have to say that it doesn't work when you come to big games. It can be very hurtful. So once I went to our prisoner theater, Porttiteatteri's rehearsals, and I was thinking, oh, finally I'm here. This is my safest place.
Merzi.
No.
I was thinking about asking you a little bit, because it's nice to hear about the specific projects you're working with and how this idea of communities and people come across in them very differently, but there are also similarities on responsibility, for example. And you seem to carry the responsibility through your choir professionalism towards environment and ecological crisis and the urgent need for action. So together with two of your colleagues, you have founded a couple of years ago Choirs for Ecocide Law, inviting choirs across the world to convey the message of ecocide to everyone. So perhaps you have to first tell the audience what it is and what is ecocide, but I would then also like to ask a little bit about your sense of responsibility towards audiences and people when you work in such a kind of powerful project that has a very strong aim of changing how people think and how political decisions are made. Please enlighten us.
Well, first, what is ecocide? 2019, a panel of 12 international experts wrote a text, a proposal that we should have an international law to criminalize long-term or big-scale nature destruction. Because right at the time we don't have any international legislation of how we live in this planet. And the word ecocide comes parallel to genocide, so murdering people, murdering nature. Ecos comes maybe from Greek. Does it? Vasilis? Ecos. Back me out here. Yes. Yalla. Okay. So ecocide law, that was the proposal, and there's something called Stop Ecocide International promoting for this law, now working in 43 countries. And when we learned as artists that there is this proposal, but very few people, not many people knows about this proposal of this law. And we were thinking like, maybe we can do something as artists. We have a superpower, we have a holistic way of communicating, and we know how the choirs actually works as a vehicle in a society. So we decided to create a 15-song project which is free, available for any choir in the world to talk, to sing the project and learn about the ecocide law and the necessity of that law and what would we be solving. So it's kind of a learning process with the message that we are offering.
And you have, by the way, flyers on tables about
yeah, of course I brought them.
The project. Yeah.
And the project is actually now very, very ajankohtainen, how do you say that? Topical, because just last September, Samoa, Vanuatu, Fiji and Tonga, the kind of island states which are in the danger of sinking, as we say, they put this proposal, the official proposal of the law, on the table of the international community, and it's gonna be voted in a couple of years probably. And the more people know about the proposal and the necessity of the law and the lack of the international law, the more people knows, the more pressure there is towards making a good vote in different countries. That's the vehicle.
Let's change the rules. is the name of the concert, right?
Exactly. We want to change the rules so that there would be the ecocide law. And ecocide law would, of course, be directly to the maybe 200 the worst counties, say saastuttaja, like help me out here, my English, pollution, or the people who are not making the disaster. So that would be the straight effect, but it would have an enormous effect to the banking world. So if we would have an international legislation in nature destruction, that would, if that would be criminalized, of course, then the money and the banking would not be able in many countries to support that kind of activities, that kind of business. It would give a nice way for business to navigate their actions towards a healthier way. And also the insurance business in the whole world would need to respect the international law, and that would also affect to the how we are working. So it would have a lot of ripple effects as well.
So you have really kind of harnessed your superpower, as you said, as a choir professional, and having that connection to choirs to spread this message with the idea that it will reach audiences more widely and perhaps also more deeply, rather than reading websites or reading documents or reading legal proposals. And the concerts have taken place in different parts of the world. And can you describe any of these moments when you have been witnessing the kind of the interplay between the choir and the audience, and what is happening there? What kind of co-creation is happening there?
I will answer to a different question, because I think my audience is the choir singers themselves and not their audience. So it's the main thing that we invite that, hey, here's the project, sing these 15 songs. When you learn these songs, you learn about there is not such a law, or there could be a law, and this is the situation now. This is why it would be good. Hey, this is a healthy and positive solution. We can do it. So our audience is actually the choirs, and as we have been actually thinking with Katja Thompson here, that the project itself is a kind of a platform for public pedagogy. So through doing this concert, the people, my audience, the singers and the conductors, learn about the law. And then the secondary audience is their audience and the people whom they invite there. And we are thinking that by learning, by participating to this project, the choir singers, they not only learn about the law, but they also get the platform for well-being, like to express their feelings and thoughts in their own community about the environmental aspects. So it's also like that perspective we want to highlight there. And then they are going home and saying, oh, today we sang this song, and did you know about this law? So I'm thinking like one choir singer is like 5 times more of knowledge. And did you know, in Europe there is 37 million choir singers. So that's just to start with. We've been in 12 countries. We have 350 choirs who have sang this now. So roughly like 10,000 singers have been singing the project.
So art can really have an impact. That's great. Merzi mentioned a magic word here, public pedagogy, that is at the core of our research project, and we're trying to look at higher music education and professional education of musicians through the lens of public pedagogy. What does public pedagogy mean? It means that pedagogy is not only what happens between a teacher and student, or in a classroom, or in a rehearsal room, but it's everywhere. Pedagogy takes place everywhere, in media, in popular culture, on the streets, everywhere. And there is not just one kind of authority who can be the pedagogue and others who are the receivers of the knowledge, but actually public pedagogue can be anyone We all have something to share, something to learn from each other and to teach to each other. Public pedagogue can even be the concert. Public pedagogue can be the collaboration, or it can be a place where you bring the prisoners. So it can really be anything, and that's the lens that we are observing and looking at the activities happening at Sibelius Academy. And then there is the public, that perhaps we as professional musicians might think about the audience, the public who comes to our concerts, who reads the articles, who follow us on social media. But how much do we think about the power of that public, or the connections that we create as artists with the public? And I would like to ask you, we are going towards the time to also engage the audience in the discussion. So if you have some questions in mind, please hold on to them and feel free to share soon. I would like to ask you, we have talked about the responsibilities, the possibilities that we have as artists, as professionals, to engage with people, with communities. We have heard very powerful stories from you. I would like to talk about the challenges a bit. What kind of challenges have you faced when you have in your work really kind of reached beyond the traditional performer audience division or performer audience roles, which is perhaps something that is the more traditional way of thinking about the musicians or composers' work, that we prepare the work, we perform it, there's the audience, they receive it, then we go home. And what you, all of you, are doing in your professional work is you're approaching those roles really from different angles. So what has been hard, what has been difficult as an artist in this kind of untraditional work? Or is it maybe it's not difficult at all for you, but maybe you could imagine that if someone had some challenges.
Put the sofa here and you start writing down.
Well, I would say that the amount of challenges has been enormous. Mainly it's been great, and I feel that I have been able to give a lot to people. But I think that the very difficult places are when we have been working a lot with someone who has created fantastic art and then they just disappear. And we know that they have started to use drugs again or something, and we can't do more. And then also nice things happen, that then maybe after a couple of years they come back. But that we have lost people, even we have tried very hard and a little bit naive way to think that we can help them for a nice future, but sometimes we can't.
I have a very different story, so I've started listening to you. But I think in this project's case, that one of the questions and problems is that we as creators, we think that in this complex world we need complex solutions, and for complex solutions we need multidisciplinary discussion. So we want to bring research and law and politics in such way and art together to propose dialogue and answers, maybe finding answers. So, but still, I think that the power of art is not acknowledged on all the fields that we want to contribute and connect with. So how to convince the law makers that you really should take time to this, and let's go to the UN conference and let's do this art project there to bring the message on the holistic level to make the difference. For example, that's something. So how we are seen from outside, from other perspectives, other disciplines.
I was just thinking on a different way in the project with Anna, the Sami musician that I was mentioning. One of the things, of course, that has been challenging is the past and the relationship that the Sami community has had with Finnish society, for example, has been very problematic, and that has caused a lot of mistrust. And this is something that is very difficult to forget, and for them. And then, of course, in a way, I am an outsider because I am not originally from Finland. But I have also experienced this kind of how can I say? It's not maybe not rejection, but this kind of small feeling of how can I say, like, I'm not going to trust too much because I have the feeling that you can disappoint me in a way because of the past. And I think this is really sad. And of course, it has been maybe sometimes that I have chosen like words a little bit carelessly. Then my message has not like come in the way or been received in the way that I would have thought. That has caused a little bit of friction. Of course, these are things that we as human beings experience in everyday life as well. So I don't take it as that is such a big thing. But what I think that it's the biggest problem is that what has been done in the past is very difficult to come back and or to like undo. So, and this is also the big thing about decolonization, that is this kind of big word. Many indigenous scholars say that decolonization is not possible because what has been colonized cannot be turned back. So, and I think we have to be also like very, very aware of that.
So, lack of trust, lack of credibility towards the arts and lost connections. But then I assume that you would still say that it's all been worth it and part of your artistic identity and professionalism and your practice. Last question. We have a lot of students and early career musicians here listening to you. So despite of all these challenges, how would you encourage musicians to consider not be isolated, not be afraid to take risks, and not have like kind of lack of trust to themselves as artists to actually make a difference in the world, to help different communities, to learn from other communities. So what would be the important aspects to think about as a professional musician when you want to create a connection with people through your artistic practice?
I have one nice number here. We did a tryout concert of our project in Jyväskylä. So there was around 100 singers and very different age groups, and so then we made a questionnaire, and according to that, 91.5% of the singers who were singing the concert was saying that something changed in the way how they think. And they were also saying that, yes, you can change the world by singing. That was their experience. So I let them to encourage you.
So I also want to, I'm also coming to statistics, because 60% of prisoners, they are in a loop, but they go very quickly back to prison. And in our project, there's less than 5% who went back to prison.
Wow.
It's quite a number. And if we are thinking that it's 83,000 euros per year in prison, you have saved quite much money. Please hear us, politicians, don't cut our monies. But I would say that if you students and artists, if you find something very fascinating and you really find some interesting people, please join them, find money, even they are small events. You have to believe that all the small things also matter. Absolutely. Don't sit at home and wait that somebody will pick you. Nobody will. Be active. Because there are also, if you are finding all the possible foundations, there are quite interesting monies, and you can also, like we are negotiating in between social money and art money, and we have managed to find all kind of interesting paths. Yes, don't stay at home.
And if statistics are not enough, then I'm going to say physics. Resonance is a concept that is very dear to me. And what I would say to the students and to everyone as well, because of course public pedagogy is for everyone. If you shout loud enough, it's gonna resonate somewhere. And of course, if you have something that you really need to say, then say it. And if nobody listens, then you say it again a little bit louder. And then in the end, it will find its resonant space, that it can be a person or it can be two people, but maybe that makes a big difference.
Wonderful. I propose Valley upload it at this point to Sanna and Merzi and Jaime.